Okay, yeah, okay. I think we're recording now. Okay, yeah. So as I was saying, I've been doing Hack the Box for a bit. Helped me learn a lot and get familiar with a lot of things. And sort of helped me jump into the rabbit hole of offensive security. And hopefully, I can help you guys uh jump into that rabbit hole as I did today. So we'll be starting off with the starting point lab. So just to double check, does everybody here have a Kali Linux machine, virtual machine, or actual machine if you did an actual hard install? Well, all right. So it looks like everyone has it, which is really nice because I don't want to spend too much time on the installation. So we can just get started. So I'll be screen sharing. Oh wait.
Oh, can I say hi first?
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Just sorry to interrupt. I didn't want to go on intrude too much, but also just for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jenny. I am the Cal Poly Fast president for this academic year, aka like 2022 to 2023. And this is Cal Poly Fast. I noticed a lot of new students coming in, so I just thought it would be appropriate for me to say hi. Hack the Box is just one of the many study groups that we have at Cal Poly FAST. FAST stands for Forensics and Security Technology. We are a cybersecurity club here at Cal Poly Pomona, and we are available for all students and non-students to join us, and we try to go and bring in a lot of resources for y'all. I know for some of you, this might be your first introduction to cybersecurity. That's great. The fact that you're even here over the summer is already very, very commendable. And I'm hoping they all stay around. We also have a couple of other competitions available, though, if any of y'all also want to go and dive even further into cybersecurity. We do have things like our Tenable competitions, which are still available, and you are free to sign up all the way up until the date of the CTF itself. A CTF is essentially a capture the flag. It's one massive puzzle, and you try to go and find flags by using cybersecurity concepts into getting these, passphrases. That's also available. We also will be having other study groups and certifications, so that's also available for y'all to go and play in. We'll also be having a couple of other beginner-friendly workshops. I'm not entirely sure yet what we're going to look for there, but I just wanted to go and lay that out here. And make sure that you're joining our Discord for more communications. Hack the Box will be running on our Fast Discord and hosted on there. And also, like I mentioned earlier, we also have VIPs available. They are still in limited capacity, and we are still working on getting them for y'all, but they should be here. Give it a couple of weeks. But that is something that we are working on as a project. If y'all have any questions or anything else that you need from me, please let me know because as president, I want to make sure that this experience is the best possible for you. Cybersecurity is hard. And like Dylan previously said, like a lot of this stuff is figuring it out on your own. And that can be very frustrating at times. But we're all here to learn. And I'm hoping that we can continue to use that as motivation to get better. I want to make sure that we're also respectful of us and we're respectful of each other when we're going through the study group. And I hope that we have a really good summer. Sorry, that was a little long-winded, but yeah, that's my spiel.
Oh yeah. Don't worry about it. And what I was gonna say was that if you ever have any issues like you're doing a box and maybe I've done before and you need some help or you want to figure like something out on Cali, you can feel free to DM me whenever. I'm on Discord all the time. I'll put in my tag in the chat. It's Nightgerald6766. I think it's like that anyways, right? And like I said, I'm always online. I think the past 4 nights or three, I've been going to sleep at like 6 a.m. just doing hack the box stuff. So like I'm always there. Feel free to reach out. And if I don't respond to you immediately, I probably accidentally fell asleep with my computer on. So yeah, with all that out of the way, let's get started. So if we can all log on to the Hack the Box site real quick. I'm gonna start sharing my screen here. Wait, how do I am I good with Zoom? So I just screen. Okay, I think this is working. Can you guys see my screen and all that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. So if we can all just get onto the site real quick and then access from the lab drop down on the left. We go to starting point. And then after you guys get on here and do all that, because today we're gonna be going over tier 0 and well, some of tier 0, because like some of it is bit paywall. And so we'll be going over some of tier 0, and hopefully we can get to a bit of tier 1 today, and then next week we'll kind of try to be finishing this stuff up. And then once you get here, we're gonna need a VPN profile. So then we can actually access the labs and turn on the machines. And to do that, all we have to do is once we're on this starting point tab, we just go to the top right here where it says, well, normally it says like connected VPN or something. We just specify that we want to generate a VPN profile for this, and then just click this, and then it'll ask you for like a region or something. It doesn't matter too much, but just pick like any region that's available to you for a for a starting point access. You can also choose any protocol. I don't really have too much of a preference. I don't really notice any difference. You're just gonna download the VPN. So I'll give you guys a bit of time to do that. I probably should tell you guys to do this a bit already. If anyone has any questions, just like you could just let me know. And once you guys have the VPN, just let me know so then I don't keep everyone waiting.
I have a question.
Yeah, what's up?
Hack the Box is pretty difficult. How did you get into it?
So, I mean, I wouldn't say this is the most optimal route, but I did very few try hack me rooms, and I think I got overconfident and I just threw myself into hack the box, and it was pretty punishing because like my first boxes took me really long time. I think like my first 5-6 boxes all took more than 15 hours. So I will say it is a bit tough getting started, but there was like this, I would say is like this rush from submitting the flags and actually like reading the boxes that encouraged me to keep going forward. I understand that not everyone's gonna have that rush, but that's what kept me going. It was like the feeling of learning things, managing to get a access to a machine and then completely compromising it. That was something that was really nice. So I honestly just kept doing it regardless of like how much I kept struggling. But I do recommend that for you, if you're getting into this stuff, just don't solely depend on a singular resource for everything. There's a lot of resources out there. There's YouTube videos, and there's also other websites like I mentioned. There's TryHackMe, which I have open over here, not logged in, but TryHackMe has a lot of rooms that you can explore and get experience with a lot of things, not just relate, like some of it is offensive, but like there's a lot of other things that you can learn. It's a very valuable resource. And then for web related stuff, there's also something called like Portswigger. They have a like a little academy thing, and there's they have like a lot of labs related to web stuff. So like if you're also interested in that, you could definitely take a look into these. All these like these three resources combined and more, they'll teach you a lot. And for the most part, it's free. But anyways, are we do we have our VPN profile? Let me try to, okay, so we have our VPN profile, perfect. Okay, so once you guys have your VPN profile, since we're gonna be attacking these labs or interacting with them through our Kali machine, we're gonna need them in your Kali machine. So one way, if you download on your host, I mean, I probably should have told you to download on Kali, so that's my bad. But if you want to transfer a file from your host machine to your Kali machine, one simple way that we can do this is I've been using this tool. I'll be honest, I don't know how secure it is, but it's called file.io, right? All you do is just upload a file on here, copy the link, and then you could pull it from your Kali machine. So let's just say I mean, I already have my VPN here, but I'll just do a little demo, right? So I'm gonna choose to upload a file, right? I'll just do this one, for example. Let's just pretend this is my VPN profile. I'll then copy the link. And then what I'll do is I'll use a command called wget. So for those on your Kali machine right now, all you have to do is open up your terminal. And then from wherever you are, just type in wget and then copy and paste a link. To copy and paste in Linux, it would be you do Control Shift. So I'll do Control Shift V to paste a link. So now I'm going to download this file and I'm going to do tac or dash capital O to specify a output file name. And I'll just say like VPN, right? So it's going to download the file and then I'm going to have my VPN here, right? So if you download the VPN on your Kali, you don't have to do this part, but if you got it on Windows, just or whatever your host machine is, just pop your file into file.io, upload it, copy the link, run wget on it, and then specify the output file name, and then you should be good to go. Now that you have your VPN on your host machine, just go to your Kali comes with a tool called OpenVPN. So all you have to do is type in OpenVPN and then specify the VPN name, whatever you named your file, and then you should just start connecting to it. You guys good with all that? Do I need to go back for anything? Oh, and if you guys are already connected to, oh, how do you know if you're connected? That's actually a great question, right? So when you are connected to the VPN, you'll have an additional network interface on your computer. That's that's a big word. So all you have to do is on your Kali machine, just type in the command IP space A. Oh, by the way, is this too small for you guys? Can you see everything that I'm typing?
If you could blow it up for me, I would appreciate
Got you. All right. So is this better?
just as big as possible, honestly.
Oh, okay. All right.
Thank you.
Right. So to when you connect to the VPN, you'll have another network interface on your actual on your Kali machine, right? So one way we could check our network interfaces, we do something called IP space A, right? So when we do that, we see all these interfaces. This LO just is localhost, which is myself. That one's not too important. This one's called ETH0. That but the one we mainly want to look for is ton0, which I like to think it stands for like tunnel, like a VPN tunnel. I don't actually know what it stands for. If someone good with networking and VPN stuff could elaborate on that. But basically, I could see that I'm on the ton0 interface and I have this additional IP address, right? So that tells me, okay, I'm connected to my VPN now. By the way, in my terminal, I'm using something called tmux that allows me to swap between multiple windows, but I'm not going to cover that today. So one thing you could do is you could just press Control Shift T, right? And you could just spawn multiple little windows, right, to switch between. I like to use tmux because it's I'm used to it, but for now, you guys instead of opening multiple terminals, you could just press Control Shift T, because when you connect to the VPN, it's gonna just like completely take over your whole terminal. So just open up a separate window so then we can continue to interact with it. You guys all good with that? I see we have at least one person who's good with that. What about everyone else? Right. Seems like we're doing pretty good here. Oh wait, oh, you can get the VPN to connect. So is there like a specific error that that your thing is giving you, or okay. One thing with oh yeah. Okay, yeah, I should probably tell you guys this. So it might require administrative privileges, so. Oh. It might require administrative privileges, so. There's a thing in Linux called sudo. I believe it stands for switch user do. It allows you to basically run a command as an elevated user or just like a different user, right? So I mean, I'm already logged in as root because I kind of opened up. Okay. So I guess it stands for super user do, but you can use it to um run processes as another user, not just root. Root is the administrative user on Linux. Let's see. So the error says in command line one error opening file use help. Gotcha. Okay. So if you I'm thinking that the VPN might not have been downloaded correctly. If you open it up and read it, so if you type in nano and then the full name of your VPN. By the way, everything is like case sensitive in Linux. It's kind of annoying. And we can also do something called tab autocomplete. So my VPN is called starting point. So I could just type in starting and press tab and it autofills. So if you go through your VPN profile, does it look something like this? It's like just a bunch of text and something with certificates and some base64 encoded text, or because it says here open configuration file. Let's see. Here opening configuration file. Oh, okay. Oh, gotcha. Okay, so it's empty. Yeah, that'll be an issue. You could just download a new VPN profile and either on your Kali or on your Windows and or on your host and shove into file.io and then wget it. But yeah, and then you might have to do sudo and then open VPN and then the name of the VPN file, so then you can connect to it and do this whole thing under an elevated process. Because I think this might require privileges. I don't know specifically, but it seems like for the most part we are connected. And since you're just reinstalling the VPN, you should be fine. So we'll be getting started with the starting point labs now. Sorry for the bit of a delay, but hopefully we're all up to speed now. So hopefully we're still on this page. We're going to be starting with tier 0. I am going to just yeah, okay. Actually, it's convenient to have all these answers here, so I'll just leave them here. So to spawn the machine, now that we're connected to the VPN, if it doesn't show green up here, even though you're connected, you might just want to press Control R and refresh your page, right? And hopefully it shows up as green up here. And then from here, we just open the drop down. We'll be starting off with the box called meow. I have to say that out loud, but and then just hit spawn machine. And then, oh yeah, I should probably click that, yeah. So it'll take a bit to create an instance, but it should spin up eventually. Okay, I probably should have spun these up a little sooner. I'm glad to see that you guys are helping each other out in the chat because I'm not used to multitasking this much. So well oh, okay, it's up now. Perfect. So there are some questions here, and I'll be honest, I'm not going for like full completion on these things. I'm just trying to kind of capture the flag, but I do think for fundamentals, it is good to go through all these little tasks that they have here. So I mean, we can answer all these questions. There's about 8 of them. So I'll be going over these tasks very lightly because they aren't as core to this whole thing. So it says, what does the acronym VM stand for? I've kind of been mentioning it a lot here, but you guys know the answer. There's a little hint. There's a space in there. Yeah, it stands for virtual machine. It's correct if I show the answer. Good job, Jonathan. And if you just type in enter, it's probably hopefully a green check mark. Then it asks you to the second task says what we use to interact with the operating system. Right. It's sometimes referred to as a console in a shell. So it's basically talking about this whole thing that I have going on over here. Yep, exactly. It's a terminal. That's correct. Yep, terminal. And then it says, what service do we use to form our VPN connection? I mean, it's basically it was the tool I was talking about earlier, how I connected to this thing. Even says that right here. You guys know this one? I don't know too much about the tool itself. I just know that I kind of use it with a VPN profile, and it just gives me access. Yep, it's OpenVPN. That's right. Good job. And then it says, what is the abbreviated name for the tunnel interface in the output of the VPN boot up sequence? So this is what I was talking about earlier when I was talking about the network interfaces that we can check with IPA, right? So it's basically asking us what's the like the name of the interface that we get when we connect through VPN. So I mean, that's part of it. I think that is the right answer. I don't remember what I put here. Let's see. Yeah. I believe the number just indicates like which connection. So like if I added another VPN connection, I think I would be at like ton 1. I don't know too much about networking, but it's kind of just a pattern I noticed. Good job, Alfred. And it says, what tool do we use to test with and to test connectivity with an ICMP echo request? I actually forgot what ICMP stands for. Yeah. Oh wow, everyone knew. All right, yeah, it's ping. Ping uses something called like an ICMP. I think it's yeah, if I'm correct, it's a type of protocol, and we can test connectivity to a machine with ping, assuming a firewall doesn't block us. I think most Windows machines do have a firewall that blocks ping, but it's a good way. Like if we can ping it, then we know we can hit it. If we can't, there might be a firewall or we don't know. So let's actually test connectivity right now, right? So if I just get the machine IP address, I could click it to copy it because Hack the Box is cool. So I just click it, right? And then I type in ping, and I press Control Shift V, right? And I could see that I'm getting response, right? And if I press Control C to kill the process, you can press Control C to like kill a process that you're on that your terminal is stuck on, right? So if I see it says that 5 transmitted, 5 received, right? And you guys don't have to do this, but I'll just do this for like demonstration purpose. So if I spin up Wireshark real quick, right? And since this machine is on my ton 0 interface, right, which if I actually start using Wireshark, this thing kind of captures network packets. We're not really going to go over it. I'm just going to show this for an example. So I'm going to listen on that interface with Wireshark. And when I start pinging it, you could see I'm in my network traffic on this interface, there's ICMP packets, right? So that's what ping does. Test connectivity, that's the main, I don't know if that's the main purpose. That's the main purpose that I use it for, is to see if like I can actually connect to my target. So you guys are right. It is ping. Wait, where are we? Yeah, ping. Okay. So now we're getting into something else. What is the name of a common tool for finding open ports on the target? Yeah, exactly. Nmap. You guys know that one. That's perfect, right? So since we're on the topic of Nmap, let's just start Nmapping our target, right? So Nmap, like the question said, right? It's gonna try. It's a port scanner tool. It tries to see what ports are open on a remote target, right? this has offensive and defensive use cases. Like if you want to see from a defensive side, you might want to see what your attack surface looks like to an attacker who's outside or an attacker who's inside, right? And for us, since this is going to be more focused on offensive security, we're going to be using this to see what ports are open and what can we leverage to get into the system, right? So, because ports, they're like a door in a computer, right? There's about 65,535 or something like that ports, and they have two protocols. Uh, Most of the time we'll be working with the TCP protocol, but basically these ports, a lot of services, applications, and all these things, they will use a port on your computer, right? Because ports are how computers can communicate and interact on a network level, right? So like if your application needs to communicate with some other computers or like the internet or something, it's gonna probably like use a port for a network connection, right? So this is gonna see what ports are actually listening or waiting for connections on the machine, and then that will give us an idea of like what we can use to attack them. And Lawrence is asking, is it illegal to nmap public websites? I believe it is illegal, or at least like I've always believed it was illegal because I don't actually know the specifics. I'm very confident it is illegal though. But since this is not a public website, it is a lab for us, we're completely fine. Right? So all we got to do is type in nmap and specify a target. I mean, if the website is like openly consenting, like and allowing, like they have a program that allows a people to nmap them, then I'm sure it's fine. But I don't know too much about cyber laws, I'll be honest. I don't have too much of a professional experience. I've mostly been experimenting in labs and doing hack the box. Anyways, so nmap port scanner tool, you simply type nmap and the target. There's a lot of options we can specify, but we won't go over that. Well, actually, I will go over some of the options, right? But here's the output, right? So we can see that there's port 23 on the TCP protocol. It's open and it's nmap is saying it's running telnet, but we don't actually know because there are certain common ports that are available or that are used for certain things. Like there might be 22, which is commonly used for SSH, or 80, which is commonly used for HTTP or websites, right? So nmap sees 23 and it automatically is going to think, hey, it's telnet. One way we can try to get more detailed scan is through the usage of something called flags, right? So I already talked about flags when I was using my wget, right? So if I scroll back up to my wget, right? A flag in Linux is something that uses attack or dash, whatever you want to call it. I call it attack. So in wget, we use tac O for output. If we actually type in tac H, that should bring up help. Most programs will use tac H as a help menu. And you can see there's a lot of options, right? I don't actually know all the options, but I do know the ones that have been most effective for me historically. And they are two flat or like three flags ish. So there's the SV flag, which this one tries to check for a service version, if I'm correct. As we can see here, it says TAC SV. It's gonna probe the port to try to get some information about the service and maybe what version. The SC flag is gonna check is gonna use a database of scripts that nmap has to try to get some more information. It's actually cool. You can combine these into one. So I usually just do SVC, but this technically means TAC SV and TAC SC. And the V and C have to be capitalized. And if we just run the command like this will run a script and service version check on this computer. But we already ran an nmap scan, and we do know that port 23 is open, right? And nmap didn't catch anything else. So we can make this thing go a little quicker by doing the tac P flag and say, hey, I want to scan port 23, right? Then I'm tac P stands for port. So now if I just do that, it's gonna take a longer. It's because it's gonna be running more than just like it's gonna do more than just kind of poke at the port to see if it's alive. It's gonna run scripts and other things on it. I don't actually know everything. I do know that it does run scripts though. So this output will take us a little bit of a while. Oh, someone's in the, all right. Scans do take a while, and so we can, oh, thank you. Oh, okay, one thing that we can confirm is like after it's running its port scan, it does know it's running Telnet now, and it even gave us a version. It's running Linux Telnet D, which is pretty convenient. So we can now confirm it's running Telnet. That was a bit of a little tangent, but yeah, that's Nmap. And what service do we identify in port 23 during our scans? I mean, we kind of just we just went over that, right? It's running the service 23 TCP is running Telnet. So I mean, it's kind of free, so I'll just give you guys that one. And what Telnet actually is, to my understanding, Telnet was like a application protocol-ish service thing. I don't actually know. It was used for like remote connections using the TCP protocol for remote terminal use, I believe. This has been mostly phased out and replaced by SSH because this was a completely insecure protocol. And well, it was, let me restate that the service didn't really encrypt its traffic like SSH did. So people who were kind of sniffing traffic could catch everything you're doing. So if you're sending confidential information, they'd find you. But anyways, one way we can interact with Telnet is with the Telnet tool. So all we got to do is type in Telnet and boom, right? We're specify the computer or that which we identify through the IP address of like where we want to connect to with Telnet, right? So I'll just type in Telnet this. And for demonstration purposes, I'm also going to start running Wireshark to because I was just talking about the traffic. So I'll just start having that listen, but we can ignore that for now. You guys don't need to run Wireshark. I'm just doing this for educational purposes. Anyways, specify Telnet, and it's gonna start taking its time. If we look at the network traffic, it's doing something. It's trying to connect to it, to my understanding. I don't actually know about all the ins and out of Telnet. And now it brings up a little banner, and we can let's see if I actually follow. Oops, actually follow this data. Nope, that's copy. Follow the TCP stream. You can kind of see that it's like I can completely see like everything that's going on, right? It's telling me the meow login thing that prompted, it's like showing up in the traffic. I'll show you more traffic, but anyways, it's asking for a login. Does anyone have an idea of a user we can log in? Because like I said, Telnet was used for a terminal use case, remotely accessing to a terminal. All right, we have root, right? I will be honest, if there was a user named Dylan, that might work, but we don't know. And about admin is also a good guess. But since this is a Linux machine, because it's running Linux Telnet, so it's probably Linux. And we know that the default root use, oh, I waited too long, so give me a second. But yeah, I'll start off with root because that was the first response, and also because I mean nearly all Linux machines or Unix machines will have root users, so we could just type in root, and we'll see where that takes us. And it actually works. So this one's a bit simple, but yeah. So now we are remotely connected to this thing. So if I type in host name, right? It says I'm on the machine called Meow. Whereas if I type host name on my Kali machine, I'm on Kali, right? Like we can confirm I'm on a separate machine now, right? And if I actually look at all this Telnet data that I'm hopefully still capturing, let's just go take a look at, oh no, wait, that timed out. I'm just gonna start capturing packets again. Just give me a second. If I type in who am I, oops, I do something, run some commands like maybe ls or something, I can see through the it should show up through the traffic. Like you could see all this traffic is like just available. So imagine I logged into a terminal remotely and I don't know, passed in some credentials over the network and all that. Like if someone was sniffing on the traffic with like Wireshark or something, they catch everything I was passing through, which is why this is outdated to my understanding. Uh, yeah. So anyways, back to the main topic. I apologize for going on these little tangents, but I do think it's good to go beyond what a material provides us and sort of just getting better understanding about things. If that bothers anyone, though, you could just tell me to get back on topic because I don't know how valuable this stuff is for you. So anyways, yeah, it asked us which username is able to log in. You guys already answered that and figured it out. It's root. Are we all together, by the way? Uh I hope I'm not going too far ahead. Is does anyone have any questions? I don't want to leave anyone behind and accidentally lose people while I go on tangents and stuff. So yeah, are we all together right now? Everyone seems good, so that's great to hear. Wonderful. Okay, yeah. So now it says submit the root flag. So a lot of the one thing with Hack the Box is to prove that you compromised something. How do you log into? Okay, I'll answer that in a bit. But to prove that you compromised something on Hack the Box, they usually have something called a flag, which is a file only readable when you compromise the machine, right? And this one's called the root flag. So if we compromise the root user, then we're gonna have the access to the root flag, and we could submit to say, hey, like, I got the flag. So, and Bryce is saying, how do you log in? You just go to the website and then you log in. So yeah, there's that. So anyways, um, some little quick Linux commands. To list files, you type in ls. If you want to get more details and a more organized output, you could do tac la, and that's gonna show more output. That's gonna show some extra information like file permissions, users, like group or user ownership, group ownership, date of modification, and file size and file name. But all we care about right now is getting this flag, right? So I typed in ls tac la, and we could see there is a flag here, right? Does anybody know how we could possibly read this flag and actually submit this and get that little, yeah, cat. I forgot what cat stands for, but uh, cat is how you can read a file through the command line. So if I type in cat flag.txt, right, you can see there's the flag, some hash, I think. And all we got to do is copy and paste this hash, submit it here, and we're good to go, right? I already did it though, so I'm not gonna get the little shiny screen that pops up, unfortunately. But it is nice submitting that flag. And Bryce, oh, cat stands for concatenate. I'll be honest, I kind of forget what that word means sometimes. I'm not a very too, yeah, it is a loud noise. Bryce isn't wrong though. You can use head and tail to read files. Head reads the top 10 lines and tail reads the bottom 10 lines. So if you want to like filter output, like you only want to read the first part of something, you can use head. And if you want to read the bottom part, you can use tail. Since this file is just one line, head and tail will both read the only line there. So that'll work. So yeah, all right. So let's just do like a little I'm drinking water. I'm thirsty. It is very hot today. So to go just quickly go over this, it seems like a lot all of us here got the flag. Let's just kind of review everything we got here. We know that VM stands for virtual machine. We know that this little thing that we type everything through is called a terminal. We can use OpenVPN to get a tunnel interface and access things through the VPN. We can use ping to connect to we can use ping to test connectivity, as I was showing you guys earlier. If I can actually find it, yeah, we can use ping to test connectivity. We can use nmap to run scans, and we can apply the SVC, capital V, capital C flag for more detailed scans, along with P to specify a specific port if we don't want to scan like all the 1,000 ports that it does by default. And we also learned that Telnet is a kind of dookie, outdated application protocol used for remote connections that is very easy to sniff traffic on. So that's a bit of a wrap. The main takeaway though that I think is important here is like understanding to use ping as a connectivity tester and using nmap, because nmap is one of the most common tools you'll be using. Because I mean, how are you going to attack a computer if like remotely if you don't have any network access to it, right? So knowing that you can connect to it via ping and knowing what attack surface it has through nmap is very important, and it's something that you guys should be strongly used to. The common oh, and to log out we could just press Control D. The common nmap flags, like I said, that I use are SBC, because I like getting details. It's the knowing the port is there itself is nice to know, but if I'm not able to get details, it might be like it might be one service might be using a port commonly used for another service. So like that might mess me up. So it's really good to get the use SBC to get those details and to also get the service version in case there's actually an exploit related to that service version. And then specifying the IP address of who we want to scan. These are probably the main flags that I use. Anyways, so now we can spin up our next box. It's called Fawn. I forgot which one this is about, so I'm just gonna look my notes real quick. Oh, and by the way, I strongly recommend for doing Hack the Box or anything, you guys take notes, because you will sometimes use very elaborate commands that you don't remember the syntax of. Like say I don't remember the nmap SVC, right? So like it's good to take notes. And so also so you can look back and see like track how you did something. So this helps you keep progress and look back and learn. So like I actually have like a lot of notes on things I do. I use something called Obsidian. It's a markdown editor. Markdown's like a weird language. I just think it's like a pretty text editor. You guys might use your own thing like a cherry tree. I used to use Typora, but then it costed money. I also use Notion. Don't ask why I have two different note-taking tools. I have my little Notion here. I use this one so I can access things remotely. So you could see like I'm doing a box here on my Notion. And then like I write little notes. I write my commands on like what I'm doing, and I mean there's a little comment, so I'm gonna close this. So like this was a Hack the Box I was doing. It was called Active, right? So like I copied and pasted my nmap scan so I wouldn't have to constantly look back over, right? And then like I type in, hey, these commands I was running, and maybe like the output. So like I ran, hey, ran SMB client to connect to the thing, and then here's some output from a file that I found, right? I strongly recommend you guys take notes. I know some people will take very detailed notes. I'm a bit lazy, so I don't, but whatever note-taking method you use, as long as it works for you, right? So you can always look back at it. Like, let's just say I forget how to run a certain command, right? But then I'm like, oh, I remember I used that on this box, right? So I could just look back, I'm like, oh, okay, I ran it like W my exec, this, and this. So it's like, okay, there's my command. You can make a cheat sheet. I'm also lazy, so I'll keep in my notes, but everyone does their thing their own way. But at end of the day, I recommend taking notes. Anyway, oh yeah, screenshots. Screenshots are very nice. I am lazy though, so I do not take screenshots. But yes, they are very nice. And if you guys want to take things above and beyond, you might even want to make a little blog posts, right? So I'm gonna oh, before we I think your guys' machine stop because if once you complete it, I actually have to manually stop mine. But while we show this, here I'll spawn the next machine. While we do that, I'm not trying to plug here or anything, but I'm gonna show my blog real quick, right? So one thing you guys could do, I believe this might look good on your resume too. I can't confirm because I haven't applied too much for jobs and stuff, but blog posts are extremely helpful. So I did this insane box called Sync about a month ago now, and it was a lot of information to take in, right? And when you actually go through the make a blog post and study the technology and all your steps, you learn a lot more, right? So it's also it's like a little very detailed notes, but I strongly recommend blog posts because it kind of shows that you're interested in cybersecurity by constantly creating content, and Hack the Box is a perfect medium for that. you could say how I compromise this machine, right? So like you make a little blog post and you make really detailed steps. This forces you to have a lot of reflection on the process and what you were doing to actually understand how you did it. So on top of taking notes, I do recommend for boxes that you found really interesting to, or maybe any box, do blog posts or at least like create a write up for them, right? So anyways, this machine is up now. Oh, goodbye, Brian. It was nice to see you drop by. Do you have your blog running on a personal server? So I am very bad with web front end, right? But what I did learn is you could use something called GitHub Pages. I don't want to. I'll cover that after the meeting because I don't want to take up everyone's time on setting up a blog. So if you guys are interested, we could stay after. But I use something called GitHub Pages. You can basically upload stuff on GitHub, and GitHub kind of does all the hosting. I did have to pay for the domain name, but GitHub will give you like their own little thing for free. You could just upload files, maybe learn a bit of Markdown. My stuff's written in Markdown, which is very simple compared to all this complicated HTML, JavaScript stuff. But yeah, you GitHub Pages is nice. It's free. Yeah. Anyways, back on topic. Sorry about the little tangent, guys. This one is called Fawn. Here's our IP address again. And before we start tackling the box and running our scans and seeing what we can do, let's focus on some of the little more theory questions, right? So before we get started, does anyone know what FTP is?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's all right. Yeah, you guys all, most of you are right. It stands for File Transfer Protocol. I don't actually know why it's called that, but yes, you guys are correct. File Transfer Protocol. Does anyone actually know what well, okay, I don't know FTP inside and out, but do you know what's like a more general use case? Would you guys like to share with that? Wait on. Yeah, sharing files transfer. Yeah. So FTP, from my understanding, it is used to do that. I don't know if there's any extra ways you can use it on top of that. But yeah, you could set up like a little server and then you can share files. I've been actually meaning to set up a little FTP server behind my router, so I don't know why. But yeah, you could transfer files and do that stuff. Do you guys know what communication model FTP uses? I didn't even know this was a thing until I ran into this question. All right, so TCP/IP, yeah, so I mean, I thought it was something along the lines of that. I thought this was a pretty weird question, but I think I think the actual answer is something else. Uh, Somebody actually answered it earlier though, right? And Taylor brought it up again too. It is a client server model. Uh, yeah, credit to Fat L. I don't know how. I think that's how you say your name. Hopefully I didn't mispronounce that. My apologies. I'll be honest. From what I understand, between yeah. So we should probably just Google this together. So, but what I think my hypothesis of what a client server model is like there's a server and clients kind of just connect to it and do their things there. So if we actually look for the client server model, it says a distributed application structure partition task between resource or service. I'll be honest, that's a lot of big words. But see, from what I'm seeing, what's my history here? Nobody needs to see that. There's just like a server that hosts some sort of application and clients kind of do some work and interact with it. And that's sort of how FTP actually works. And that's sort of how FTP works because there's a thing called like the FTP server, and then clients kind of just connect to upload, download files and such. So that sort of makes sense with the name client server model, although I'm not too sure about specifics of what that means, but yes. FTP, there's a server that hosts the file and then, or files, and then clients, right? They'll just connect to and say, hey, can I get this file? They will have to authenticate, or sometimes not at all, actually, to do the file downloads and uploads. So what is the name of one popular GUI FTP program? This is a weird question, but FTP is not limited to just one program. There is a lot of programs out there. There's command line ones called like VSFTP. Oh yeah. Yeah, you guys got it. It's FileZilla. I thought FileZilla was more of a Windows thing, but actually it might be. If we just do a little bit of Googling on that, we could see it. FileZilla is, oh, it's cross-platform. That's my bad. But yeah, a lot of FTP servers out there. I don't know why you would use one over the other, but at the end of the day, they share files. And Lawrence is right. IIS, or Internet Information Services, does come with like its little own FTP thing. That's like a web server on Windows. But that's its like own thing. I could cover that after this. I don't want to install IIS on my computer, but I could do that for you guys if you're interested. And do you guys know which port FTP is usually on? Oh, we have an answer yet. Bryce is correct, 21. And Alfred is also right, 21. But more specifically, TCP. There's like I was referring to earlier when it comes to ports. There's TCP and UDP. What I'm not big on networking. I don't have any like networking certifications. I don't study too much. What I do recall hearing though is TCP is more secure in its data transfer, in that it requires like something called like a three-way handshake. I'm not too sure what that means. I'm sure many of you here have much more networking knowledge than I do, so you can answer that on that regard. But there's TCP and UDP, and a lot of applications will run on TCP, and this includes FTP. Well, usually anyways. Yeah, there's this in acting. I can show you through Wireshark, but I don't really understand the output. So I mean, we all learn here. We all have something to learn. I still need to learn networking, but I'm lazy. But yes, you guys are right. 21 TCP. What is an acronym used for the secure version of FTP? That's a bit of a weird question. FTP. I do think that's correct. I don't actually remember what I wrote for my answer here. But let's see if Bryce is correct. Yeah, it's SFTP. I don't know how common this is, but I do know it's like a thing with S being prepended to a lot of programs where it means like secure. So like SFTP is like secure FTP. I think SSH is like secure shell, which kind of makes sense because Telnet was a insecure shell. But you guys could correct me if I'm wrong on that one. Trick question. What port is SFTP on? I actually don't know, but I would assume 21 with 22 because it uses SSH probably. That makes sense. Yeah, you guys know more than me. There's always something more to learn, so that's what I love about this stuff. Anyways, all right, so what command can we use to test our, wait, what? I mean, we kind of Telnet 22. Yeah, I feel like it's easy to mix the two up because I mean, like they're literally just one off each other. I feel like we already answered this question already, but I guess to reiterate, what command can we use to test connectivity? No, remember that it's not like a it's not a completely foolproof thing. Yeah, ping. Yeah, covered in ping. Pretty sure ping's the answer. Yeah. So now that we're here, might as well see if we can ping the box, right? See if we're able to hit it through ICMP. Remember that firewalls can block ICMP, but not TCP and UDP. So then sometimes you won't be able to ping a box, but you can still hit it. So it's kind of funky like that. So yeah, let's see if we can hit it, and we can see, yep, we definitely are hitting the box. Why is Wireshark still open? Give me a second. Let me just close that. I'm gonna leave it running. So now it's asking us from our scans what version of FTP is running on the target, right? Well, if we know FTP is running, we know what port it's on, right? So would anyone like to create a little nmap command and enter in the chat that we can use to get all this information for this question. Yep, it's exactly what I would have done. They already told us FTP is running on here, and since I don't want to go through the hassle of like scanning all the other ports, it's good. It's a good idea to just like run this. And I'm going to show you guys a little fun shortcut for at least on Windows, or depending on your keyboard, I guess. So I type it. So I copy and pasted this already, right? But if I want to reuse the last positional argument that I used in my last command, right? So this, let's just say I don't want to copy and paste this IP address, or I don't want to type it out by hand, right? One thing I could do is I could press Alt period, right? And it's gonna get this last argument that I put, and it's just gonna put it up here, right? So like I could just do nmap, all that, Alt period, right? Boom, it's all there for me. It's a very nice little shortcut. Yeah, it's pretty nice to have on hand. That's why I like, whenever I use a command with an IP address, I try to put the IP address last so I can just press Alt period each time. It's a little shortcut. And now we get a lot of detailed information, but first let's address the flag, right? From your scans, what version of FTP is running on the target? Well, what version does it look like, guys? BSFTP 3.0. You are exactly correct. Yeah. Before we go on with any of the flags, let's try to get uses, because there's a lot more output here than like our last scan, right? Let's you guys want to get an idea like what can we get out of this, right? Because as an attacker, you know, we have to be able to interpret our scans, right? You have to understand what all this information means, right? So I mean, we already with the previous box, we've already went over with like this whole little short part up here, right? But like what can we get out of the rest of this part? I think there's two main takeaways that you guys we might want to get away from it. Right, exactly, Jonathan. That's perfect, right? So we have an anonymous login, right? Nmap was being very nice, and it already attempted anonymous logon for us, right? And there is a plain text file in here which looks very interesting because it's called flag, and we like flags. Yeah, I think that's I mean, there's also this that it's generating that based off of this service and its version. Nmap says this is a Unix operating system. So at least we know it's not Windows now, based on the fact that it's running VSFTPD. So thank you, Nmap. Very nice. From our scans, oh wait, that kind of answers this question. So I wonder what OS is running on this. Any guesses based on the Nmap scan? Yep, it's it should be Unix unless Hack the Box is trolling me. Yeah, it's Unix. Yep. All right, now submit the root flag. Okay. Well, we know there's a flag here, right? And we know this flag is on an anonymous FTP server, right? Does anybody have an idea of how we can actually grab this flag? I don't want to just reveal the answer, right? Does anybody have an idea how we could grab the flag from the FTP server through our Kali machine? Yes, we can use FTP to transfer the flag. Do you have any, I mean, we could also, we could Google how to do this, but does anybody have an idea how we can actually use FTP? FTP IP address, use command get. Yeah, that's it, right? But we are missing a small part here. So let's go on with what Gerardo was saying. So FTP IP address, right? Remember that I already put the IP address here, right? So I could just do FTP alt period. This is why I love putting IP addresses at the end, but that's just my own personal habit, right? Okay, so we enumerate? So oh wait, okay. Yes, anonymous, no password as a login. Yes, so to do anonymous login on FTP, we can just simply type in anonymous, right? That's like, I think, a thing between like a lot of few servers. If you try to specify anonymous, you could type it in, right? And when it says password, you could just put in anything, right? I'm gonna just smash my keyboard and hope it works, right? And it says login successful. If anonymous was disabled, it'll either tell us it wasn't, or we would just get failed login, which we could do like, which would tell us, oh, no anonymous FTP, right? I don't actually know the use case for anonymous FTP. But it does not seem like the most secure of practices, right? And Alfred was saying, do we enumerate? So the term enumerate is like pretty broad when we use it in a more offensive security context. It usually means like we try to gather information, and this fits under a lot of context, right? There could be like an initial enumeration, right? Which falls under Nmap, right? We're enumerating the machine, seeing what ports are there, what services, right? But then there could also be us. Let's just say there wasn't a flag here, right? But there was a bunch of folders on this FTP server, right? So we could use the ls command, right, to list files, and we could enumerate the service, see what's accessible, right? Enumeration covers a lot of things like service version, right? What the service provides to us. And this is like, this extends to websites, enumerating websites. Or if you get a foothold, right, on a victim machine that you're attacking, you can then do post-exploitation enumeration and see what's available to your whatever privilege access you have to that machine. So enumeration is very broad, but it all just really means get information, because we need information if we ever want to actually, do anything, right? If we want to exploit something. And this always comes in the forms of scans, scripts, or just manual hard work. Right, yeah. I don't actually know what the word enumeration means. I remember hearing it first in computer science, and I never understood it. I heard numbers and I got lost. But what I do know for this is it means just look, basically. Do a lot of looking, a lot of searching. And anyways, going back to what Gerardo was saying, we do the command get to get the file. So we would just do get flag.txt, right? And it's gonna download the flag for us. There are, if we actually type in help in our FTP client, right? Because when we ran FTP, we're now in the FTP client. We're not really on our, we're not sending commands directly to our terminal. It's more of in the this client to this server, right? That whole client server thing going on. So if we type in help, we could see there's a lot of commands. I don't actually know what each and every single one of them means. In fact, I barely know what any of them means, but I think there are a few commands that are pretty useful in FTP. So I'll just list them out here. You guys could take notes or just memorize them, whatever. So one of them is like binary. I think you also type in bin. Yeah, bin is for a shortcut or binary. So this makes the file transfer across the FTP server and the client use I guess binary rather than ASCII, because the thing with using ASCII, which was like a default thing, as we saw in our scan, right? It's using by default, it was using like an ASCII data transfer, right? The thing with that is sometimes like content of a file gets corrupted. So I find it more consistent to use a binary data transfer. And then as Gerardo said, you can do get to get files, right? We can actually see if we can upload a file maybe, right? We could do put, and I'll type in, I don't know, I happen to have a file called gia.ccache, right? So we could try to do put, right? And now we could see, oh, permission denied, right? Unlucky. Some other commands are, like I showed you earlier, ls. We could do ls to see what files are available. And we could do cd to switch between directories within the FTP server if it has more than just a file, right? Maybe it has a folder, and we could do cd. So it's very similar to actually Unix, right? I don't know about the rest of these things. I haven't really found like a necessary usage, but yeah, those are just some very simple FTP commands. I'll just type in exit to exit, and hopefully you guys get to submit your flag now. And let's see. Oh, wow, we still have a good amount of time, so we're making good progress. I hope you guys are getting a lot of this. Is everyone good on this box fawn? Just FTPing, interacting with FTP and grabbing flag and all that. I don't see any notes, so I think we're doing pretty good so far, right? So, all right, that's great to hear. Sitting on the computer for too long is bad. A lot of people say that. I already know my back is hurting, so while I spin up this next machine, you can take a break. I gotta go to the restroom. I'm not gonna walk my dog. I don't know any stretches, but I'm gonna go to the restroom right now. You guys could just take a quick break. I'll be back. Just try to spawn the next machine because it takes a bit. Oh, I have to stop my active one. We'll do that, and then we will spawn this machine. So I'll be right back, guys. Yeah.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. So who's back here is hurting? You know, same. Maybe I'm just a boomer, I don't know.
Maybe.
I think after you turn 18, you just slowly some sort of sure. After you turn 18, you just slowly have back pain. And that just goes on for the next 50 years.
True.
Brutal. My sister already calls me old.
Does she?
Yep.
Dang, that's a fat rip, dude. How old is she?
Like 15 or 16.
All right.
Oh,
Yeah.
that explains it.
Yeah.
So how we doing, guys? Are you guys tired?
A little bit. 2 hours is definitely a trip.
Yes, I did wash my hands. Yeah. So I know it's 2 hours. I know it's a bit of a time investment, especially during you guys' summer. But I mean, you guys could leave whenever you feel like. I mean, this is all just voluntary stuff. If you guys have any questions, just feel free to let me know. But yeah, let's just before we get started on dancing, I think this one's actually if I look at my notes, I think this one's up. Oh wait, I don't want to spoil you guys. I'm gonna move it over here. If I actually look at my notes, I think this one is pretty nice. Hopefully. Oh, yeah, summer class. That's tough. I'm lazy, so I take minimal classes. Although that's gonna bite me really bad in the future, but I don't think ahead. So yeah. Probably not the best example to follow off of. But anyways, glad to see that you guys are still doing well. So before we start dancing, let's just quickly review Fawn, right? There, based on our Nmap scan that we're doing, right? There's an FTP server. We can FTP is works with a server client model. So based on this and our scan, the machine is an FTP server, right? And we can connect to it as a client. Our scan also showed us that we can connect to this server anonymously, and then we could grab files, right? Because FTP stands for file transfer protocol. It's like a little file server, and that's from my understanding the main use case of FTP offensively is that if we ever manage to grab credentials of a user, or we compromise the machine and manage to dump credentials, and we find that there's a FTP server on maybe other machines within the network, we can try to spray those credentials onto that we taken from one machine onto those FTP servers, right? Because there's files on there. There might be some valuable information on the files. Maybe someone left backups or something, or maybe somebody just happens to be downloading things off a file off the FTP server, and we could try to launch a client-side attack based on that. There's a lot of things we can do with it, but at the same time, it's kind of limited to can we log in and access it or not, and maybe are people interacting with it, and what can we get from the files there. So it's pretty interesting, and we're actually going to be interacting with dancing, which falls on a related note. Okay, so my machine is up. Does anyone actually know what SMB here stands for? That is correct, Alfred. It does stand for server message block. Does anyone know what ports does it? Does anyone know what ports it uses? Yeah, so it does use 445, but another common port that comes with it is something called like RPC, or like remote procedure call, and that usually also comes in with 139. So if you ever scan a machine and you see the combination of 139 and 445, that's probably like SMB. SMB comes nearly by default on like Windows, and it is also a thing on Windows, if or Linux or Unix, right? So if I actually run my, so if I go to my terminal, right, and I check what ports I have, right? So I mean, you guys don't need to know this. There's just a little Windows thing. I'm just gonna run netstat to check ANO, and then p TCP to say, hey, I'm looking for TCP ports. Right, there's a lot of output. It's kind of ugly, but we can see that I do have SMB running. It's also, I know I said 139, but there's also 135. It's weird. There's a lot of information, or there's a lot of similar port numbers. Windows has a bunch of ports, but yes, I do have 445. I think that's actually like OneDrive too. I think maybe OneDrive uses SMB. I cannot confirm, so I will actually Google this. OneDrive SMB. I have no idea. Does OneDrive support SMB? I don't want to take you guys' time, so I'll just say this is inconclusive. But yes, I do. Windows by default has SMB. I'm gonna share a little resource with you guys. I probably should have showed this earlier, but there's a wonderful website called Hacktricks. It has a lot of little tools and tricks. Yeah, as Bryce said, for those who don't know, Bryce is well, Bryce and Alex, they're the guys who got me into Hack the Box, and they're the guys who taught me a lot. But yes, we all refer to Hacktricks as sort of like a holy Bible, because it contains a lot of details about services and from a more offensive standpoint. So if we go back a few steps and look at FTP, right, tells us some pretty cool stuff, right? Hey, usually runs on TCP. We can connect through it through certain ways. We could grab its banner to check its version. Then there's a lot of interesting information, things we could work with it. There's also something called an FTP bounce attack. I don't know what that is though. I'm not going to take you guys' time. But likewise, we could do something like we could do SMB Hacktricks, right? And this is also kind of where, aside from just constantly scanning, I do notice there's a very common 139 and 445 with SMB. So there's a lot of information. Some of it is pretty technical, and the other ones are pretty nice because it's more simple. But yeah, Hacktricks, very good resource if you want to like to further your enumeration on services. Just like refer to Hacktricks or to see if there's something maybe you might be overlooking. Anyways, back to the topic at hand. Yes, it runs on 445. What network communication model does SMB use? I actually don't know the end. I forgot what I put here. I don't know how this information isn't super relevant. Client server model, that's what I'm sort of thinking too. So let's just reveal the answer and find out. It is a client server model. I can say that it is very similar to FTP, or yes, in that you can connect to it with a client, right? So if I actually, I'll see if I can connect to like SMB, or at least work with SMB on my computer. So I believe behind my router, my host machine is this. All right. So one thing we could do is to enumerate shares. I'll use a tool, a very nice Windows attacking tool. It's called CrackMapExec. If you guys got the more recent version of Kali from the link that I provided, this should come by default. It's a nice series of Python scripts and tools. So I'll do CrackMapExec, and I'm going to specify that I want to attack a SMB. And then I'm going to specify my target, which is my IP address. So I'll just do Alt-G. There's multiple authentication with SMB. You can specify a username that's on the host. most of the time Windows SMB is on Windows, so this is usually like Windows quote unquote Windows authentication, or you could log in with like Active Directory domain user, or you could try to do a guest login, right? So I'll just do tac u and just specify two tacs or two single quotes as an empty username and tac p this, right? And then tac p that for the password, and then I'm gonna do double tac shares because I want to see what shares are. So SMB is sort of similar to FTP, like I said earlier, where SMB, there's more use cases for SMB, but one of the things that we can use as an attacker is that it hosts things called shares, which are like folders, and those shares have files. I don't know why they're called shares and what's so special about them, but I like to think of them as like glorified folders. So I'll do this, and hopefully I can get something, right? Cool thing about CrackMap too is it tries to enumerate some data information too, right? So it says, I mean, this is my computer name. I didn't actually give my computer name. It is called desktop something. It is Windows 10. I don't know if the build's accurate, but it is right. It is Windows 10. I am not in a domain, so it got that right. It also told me whether it's something called I forgot. Is this like NTLM signing? It's just something called signing. It would tell me whether that's on, and if it figured out that it's off. And same with the usage of something. Oh, SMB signing. Thank you. You know what? Well, let's figure it out. Sorry, NTLM signing. Whatever. Sorry. So yeah, CrackMap does get you some pretty nice details. Its main use case is Windows, but you can use CrackMap on a few Linux services. And after trying to authenticate to my computer with null credentials, you can see that status denied, right? I think I have a user on my machine that doesn't actually use my real password because I don't want to expose myself. So I'm gonna try this. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. So I do have a user called Bro on my computer. I forgot why, but he's there. And you could see I can enumerate some shares, right? There's something called documents, the C share, which is like your file system, the admin share, which is system 32. I think D share is actually for my D drive because I have 2 hard drives. And then there's one called documents and there's one called users, right? Yeah, so I managed to authenticate with actual credentials on my local machine. If I do net users to check computers on my machine, there's a bro user, right? So that's, and apparently I remember the password, so that's pretty sick. I strongly recommend you guys to get if you plan to do a lot of like Windows, maybe Active Directory, kind of get familiar with CrackMap. Maybe you might not use the tool in the future, but like knowing the certain type of techniques that CrackMap can perform and finding alternatives is also still a great knowledge to have. Back to topic though, client server model, as you saw, I authenticate as the client bruh, and the server shows me its shares. Yes. Anyways, what is the service for port 445 that comes up in our Nmap scan? Would anybody like to submit a Nmap scan command that we can use? Because I'm lazy and I don't want to type it out. All right, I will just start writing the. Oh, I was just wondering if anyone wanted to submit an Nmap scan command. Oh, yep, that's that works. We just need to specify the IP address. So I'll go copy that. And we'll let that take its time. So that is an interesting command by Bryce. I will elaborate. So if we want to specify a range, oh wait, I forgot how large. We can do something like nmap tech p 1-5, I believe, right? And then let's or 1 tech 5, yeah. And then we could specify like our host. Like, I think that's how you do it. So oh yeah, and same, you can actually do this with IP addresses too, right? So if I want to do like say I'm scanning a network, right? I could do like what's it called, like the network cider or something, right? So like 00/24, or I could do like maybe I could try to scan my home network and do like 40 to 50, something like that. And if I want to do separate IP, you can also specify like targets from a file. There's a lot of things you could do with Nmap. I prefer to just do it all in one command though. I think I could also, if you want to do like distinct IP addresses though, like, so maybe like 10/0040 and then 10/123, you can also do that separated by commas, as the last positional argument. Anyways, I'm gonna exit out this, and wow, our Nmap scan is finished, so very nice. Now it's saying, what is the service name that comes up for port 445 during our Nmap scan? I mean, it's right here, right? Microsoft DS. I don't actually know what that stands for. This to me is just an indicator that it's SMB. And on top of that, the host script scan results returning something about like SMB. So I can kind of associate this 445 service with SMB. So yeah, the answer is Microsoft DS as it shows over here. Directory service, that's yeah, might be that. I don't actually know. What tool do we use to connect to SMB shares from Linux? So does anyone have an idea? I've shown how we can enumerate shares, right? But do we actually know how to connect to these shares now? Does anyone have an idea? Right, SMB client, exactly. There's two ways to do it. I prefer to actually, it's probably better to do it with quotes. I'll show you guys how to do it with quotes. I typically don't do it with quotes though, because I'm weird like that. But anyway, so the way that you do the syntax, right, is you do SMB client, and then now we specify a like what I think it's called a UNC path, or like a network path. I forgot what UNC stands for. So if I Google that, it's Universal Naming Convention, or shared folder on a computer. Wonderful, great information, right? So we UNC paths look like they start off with two what is this called, like a backslash? Wait, what? Oh, I press Control W to close tabs. I don't know, habit. Yeah, so you would do SMB client, and then you do two slashes, right? And then from here, you either specify the host name if your computer is able to connect that host name to an IP address, or you could just specify the IP address, right? I'll be connecting to my own SMB share on my computer, right? So I do this, right? And now I believe 1, 2, 3. And then from here, I close off with like another backslash, and now I specify the share I want, right? So on my computer, there's a user's share, right? So I'll go to users. I don't think it's case sensitive. To specify a username, you do capital U, tac capital U. And then I think for password, it's capital P. You could, if you don't specify password in the command line, it will prompt you for it. But I'm trying to show you guys how to do it all in one. So if I do something like this, will it work? Oh, that's wonderful. I don't know why my SMB client's blowing up on me. I wonder if that is I've never seen this output before. You see something every day. Fred, for me, it was all F4 on a certain Lego looking game, but we won't delve into that. But okay, yeah, so that's a SMB client syntax. I wish it worked. I don't know why it didn't. What if I don't specify a password? Okay, if I don't specify, if I just type in my password after it prompts me, that works, right? And now if we notice, we're in a client similar to FTP, right? Instead of FTP, it says SMB, and if we type in help, commands are pretty similar, right? There's a there's ls and there's get. And that's the main ones that I really use. So if I type in ls, I can kind of see like, oh, files. Wow. Yeah, that is very similar to FTP. Anyways, let's get back onto the box, right? You guys were right. It is SMB client. What is the flag or switch? I usually call it flags that we can use to list the contents of, wait, what? Oh, okay. To list the contents of the share. I don't know why they call it flag or switch. I usually just call it command. I guess they all have some. I believe it's what Armando said. I'm very confident that it is. Oh, wait. List the contents of the share. Actually, I don't really know what this question is asking as much. I do think it's ls, but it might be TAC capital L. Okay, it's TAC capital L. All right, so they worded this weird, but SMB client TAC L shows you it shows you the share names. It shouldn't show you what's actually in them, right? So if I do TAC L, right, and then I do this, I don't know why they said list the contents of the share, because it doesn't. It lists what the shares are, right? I should the command should have been something like this. So wait, let me just like that. Because the thing with SMB client TAC L, like I said, switch. Honestly, I use switch and flag interchangeably. I usually just mean it's like a little when you do the when you write attack and specify like a letter and then pass in the parameter to that. So you could think flags and switches as like quote unquote like optional-ish option. They're like different options. Sometimes they're necessary, sometimes they're unnecessary. It depends on how the programmer makes the program. Switches are like, yeah, that's a great explanation, much better than mine. So the thing with switches is they can either be standalone or they could have their little an argument passed within them. And for some reason, that argument either has an equal sign or it has a space between them. It's very inconsistent. The difference between like switches and positional arguments are that switches, you kind of just toss your switches around and they're recognized as like a switch. So I could put the TAC L here, I could put it there, I could put the TAC U here, I could put wherever. But positional arguments are sort of interpreted differently. So the TAC L flag doesn't need an argument, so it can work standalone. But the positional argument is kind of as its name says, it's an argument that gets interpreted by its position. So all right, how do I explain it? So the first positional argument for SMB client should be the IP address. So if I were to pass in multiple arguments, I actually think it only takes in one positional argument, but the first one should be the IP address, right? So the flags, they kind of get recognized as flags, but this one, the first non-flag argument that it takes in, a non-flag, non-switch argument, is recognized as a positional argument. I think, yeah, actually, I'll use CrackMap because CrackMap is the best way to describe this. It takes two positional arguments, as you can see. It takes in like some sort of module that we're attacking and a host name, right? If I switched it up, because it should fail, right? Because it's expecting that first positional argument to be a protocol, right? Which is one of these things. In my case, I used SMB earlier. So positional arguments have to go in a certain order. Switches and flags kind of just, you toss them around. Very rarely there will be a program that has a positional argument that works with a flag like IP tables. And that's just really annoying. But yeah, that's your little Linux dose for the day. What is the name of the share that we're able to access in the end? So does anybody have an idea of how we can connect to like a little command that we can try to use to connect to this SMB share that's running? Well, first of all, we can't even connect to it because we don't know what the shares are. So how can we potentially enumerate the shares on this host machine? Right, that is also another option. There's a lot of SMB tools, but Bryce is bringing up one. Would you like to provide? Yeah, there's also Enum for Linux. But that will give us way too much information. All we're trying to do is enumerate this SMB share. Would anyone like to? Yes, SMB client TAC L. and we'll just we'll just specify the sorry, I need some water. We'll just specify the IP address here, right? So if you notice, a lot of our oh wait, we have a password, right? Well, one thing we could do is you always want to test, low hanging fruit, get the easy stuff out of the way. One of the low hanging fruit is something called guest login and no login. They're very similar. So I believe I'll just be doing guest authentication here by specifying no password for the root user, and it should, if it works, I'll get defaulted into the guest user. And oh wait, so we can sort of tell that the guest authentication worked because we're able to list the shares. Remember that when I try to run this on my host machine, I believe it failed to grab any shares because I didn't provide authentication, right? So if I do this on my host machine, I get access denied. I can't find shares. But because we were able to list shares while specifying like a no password, this tells us that we have some sort of no guest authentication going on. Now we see a bunch of shares, but we don't actually know which ones we can access, right? We could try to brute force them all, but what if there's a lot, right? Does anybody have an idea of how we can manually how we can enumerate whether or not we can access these shares without having to manually try to connect to each with the client? I'll actually go back to the tool Bryce was talking about earlier. I haven't used it in a while, but I believe this will actually cover our issue. So if we do SMB map tag H, and since we're doing like a little no guest login thing, I'll just specify H for the host name or the host IP. I think that's how it works. So we'll do that. Hopefully it actually works. And it is, oh, wait, it's alive. Okay, so we didn't get anything. So this time I'm just gonna specify you guess. And I think this one actually does lowercase u. Been a while. Okay, so there's an authentication error. So this, yeah, I just stopped using this tool because I have CrackMap. So I'll just do CrackMap because I find it much more easy. So instead of guess, I'll try to specify like a little no logon. So no username, no password, and I'll see where that takes me. Oh, and I forgot I switched the argument, the positional arguments. So I'll specify the IP address and we'll see where this takes us. Okay, we got access to that. Oh, that's kind of weird. When dancing. I'm actually curious why this isn't working. Because we're able to enumerate the shares with SMB client. This might just be another weird Windows moment. Oh, okay. I guess guess with no password like this works. I get them mixed up a lot, so that's my bad. So, okay. Maybe this might be a command you guys might want to take note of. But we can use CrackMap exec to see which shares we have access to, right? By specifying the SMB protocol to use, the target, and then some credentials, if maybe guest credentials, null credentials, or valid ones. And we do the tech shares flag to see the shares are available and what the actual permissions on them are. So based on this output, what is the name of the share that we're going to actually be able to access? Does anyone have an answer for that? Yes, so we can read IPC and we also do have access to work shares. Now, I don't actually know the specific reason for this, right? But there is, IPC is a kind of a weird share where a lot of the times it says you have read access to it, but kind of just doesn't really do anything. I don't know the exact reason for this. But if I'm correct, work shares is the actual answer. Yeah, you guys are right. Good job. But as for regarding IPC, right? I don't really know what's up with it because like you kind of get on it, and then if you try to do anything, usually it just says no such file. I'm sure there's a specific reason, but I've just kind of passed it off as IPC is a weird share. I don't recall the exact use case or information regarding about that, so I'd have to do some research on that. But yes, we can access work shares, right? So let's try doing that, right? So what's weird about CrackMap is we can enumerate shares, we can't actually access them, though through CrackMap we have to do SMB client. So whenever there's SMB, you kind of just work with these and work with these tools together. Bryce is saying that IPC shares for null sessions. Yeah, I mean you might be right. I don't know. But that is something that would be good to look into if anybody's interested. Yes, there is Google, but I don't want to waste everyone's time Googling on random stuff. So I'm gonna get on with this. So just gonna specify my little null guest logon thing onto the work shares, right? And just like FTP, we can just run ls and look around, right? And there's some, I believe D stands for directory, right? I'll show you guys a little trick here. What's cool with SMB is you can get you could recursively download all the files and folders, right? You just need to type in a few commands. So you guys might want to take note of this. So you have to type something called prompt off, so it stops asking you whether or not you want to download a file. And then you're gonna type in recurse on to tell it that you're gonna like turn on recursion, I guess. And then from there, you could do just like mget and then asterisk, right? And I believe this starts getting everything, right? So there was only 2 directories, and each directory only had 1 file in here. So I mean that's not much, but if there was like say hundreds of files on here, right? This would be a lot more useful, right? Because we don't want to grab each by hand, right? So this is a pretty nice little trick to do. So, oh man, I'm not following track with these questions. What is the command that we can use within SMB to download? Okay, so I didn't really use this command because I kind of used the better command. But does anyone know how to get a command to download maybe like a single file at a time? Yeah, get. Should be get anyways. Yeah, very similar to FTP. And yeah, so if we actually look at our shares, right? So when I grabbed them, I got the file where Amy J and James P, right? So I actually pulled the folders as actual folders on my host. So there's an Amy over here and there's a James here, right? So I do ls Amy, right? I could see that Amy has something. So maybe if I could check her work notes out, and I mean she has little notes there. And then if I look at see what's inside James, right? Oh, there's our flag. Yeah. Yeah, so that should be it then for this box. Let's see. Regarding use cases for SMB, SMB does just like it does host files like FTP, and you can connect and download them. But there are a lot of Windows processes and a lot of like Windows functionality is built around SMB, and one of the things that kind of commonly comes with it called I believe it's called like MSRPC or Microsoft or like MS remote procedure calls. That stuff is like really technical and is kind of going above this, but just know that SMB is generally a Windows thing. You can host files on it and through shares, and there's a lot of Windows functionality intertwined with it. So it's a lot more heavy than FTP. So that's dancing. That was more of the same stuff that we've been generally covering. I don't. I'll be honest. We're gonna be skipping over Redeemer, because I mean I feel like we've gotten used to a bunch of client server technologies at this point. A lot of it's like figuring out a client tool, trying to specify credentials or anonymous logon, right? And just figure out what the tools are available on the client and searching around. Redeemer is more that it uses the technology it uses is called Redis, which is a database that stores things in memory, which makes things operate faster. Redis usually operates with more, I believe Redis operates with more like heavy applications. So it operates as like a little memory database. So to help their efficiency, I guess. I don't know too much, but I don't want to like take everyone's time just covering more of the same stuff that we've been doing. If you want, you could try to tackle Redeemer on yourself, by yourself. But we'll be moving on to tier 1 now. I don't think anyone has VIP here, so we won't be doing these two. Yeah, so that's tier 0. We could if do you guys want to start on tier 1 now and then cut it off for next meeting, or do you guys want to just end here? How's everyone's availability and how's everyone feeling? You guys tired?
Low key, I'm tired.
Ah, that's unfortunate. Sorry about that. But yeah, so today was mostly more little fundamentals, getting used to using tools. I hope you guys got some good notes and all that stuff. But next week we'll be covering tier 1. Like I said, tier 1's gonna be it's not gonna be as simple as tier 0. It's not gonna be like a anonymous access and then kind of win. We're gonna be starting to use more offensive vectors and trying to abuse things in ways that they weren't meant to be abused, right? Because if for the situation with tier 0, a lot of this we were just maybe using, there were certain misconfigurations that we leveraged, or we just use the tools as they were intended, right? Right, like there was a telnet and we just asked it. It just happened root had no password for fawn and dancing, right? The FTP server and the SMB. It just happened to have no authentication, so we just got in and got some files, right? We were using things as they were intended to be used. We weren't doing too much exploitation there. Tier 1, we're gonna things are gonna step up a bit, and there's gonna we will have to figure out how to attack services and leverage things in ways they weren't necessarily meant to be used, right? So it's going to get a little more interesting in tier 1, and we'll be covering that next week. Today we got a bit more used to the command line, so I hope you guys are feeling comfortable, open VPN, multiple windows in your terminal, using client, Googling stuff, and accessing services with client tools one way or another. So I hope you guys got comfortable with that. But tier 1 is definitely going to be a big bit of a step up. I'm not sure if we'll be able to. All 4 of these are pretty solid machines. We'll be starting off with SQL instead of appointment because I think it's better to go in that order. And then I think we'll be spending 2-ish days on this, and then so that would be week 2 and 3. On the 4th week, we'll be covering the tier 2 labs. So yeah, but that's basically it for today. I hope you guys had a good time. I'm sorry if it wasn't technically challenging for some of you here, but I hope you guys found it educational and you learned a lot. Yeah, but we'll be meeting next week, 6 to 8 p.m. again. Yeah. So if you guys feel like leaving, feel free. You guys are, you guys were always free to go. None of this stuff is like mandatory or anything. Yeah. Everyone's still here. So yeah, for those who are leaving, see ya. For those who are staying, thank you, Armando. But yeah, for those who are staying, we can go over some extra stuff, or I'll be here to answer any questions. Yeah.
Thank you, Dylan.
You're welcome. Take care all. Hope you guys have a good week, summer, and all that good stuff. Let's see. For those of you that are staying, is there something you want, you guys have any questions or like you want me to cover something? I'm starting to notice it's a group of certain individuals that I'm a bit familiar with. So, oh, I should probably stop the recording. How do I do that? Oh, wait, no, that's screen share. How do you stop a recording?
Should be bottom.
Oh, I see it.